Can you hear me, brother?
I can hear you.
Can my people hear you?
I don't know about that.
I'm sure they can now. Well, welcome to the show, James Feldman of Chicago, Illinois. You are a hell of a patient man, and I appreciate you. We're going to have to do a hell of a lot of editing on this post, but that's okay. It's the first night, and it's expected, right? A little bit into each. Right. So, James, say hi to the audience.
Hello, everybody. Well, you now know why my company is called Shift Happens.
Wow, that's very timely. Damn. Well, thank you, and it's funny because I do appreciate your patience. So let's just start again because what you're saying was so great. So first we started off, and no one could hear you, and I'm glad my people are helping me. They're there to have my back, my wife and Joseph and others. We started talking about how people work out of the box, and that's a mistake. Okay, let me take this off. And in that, the problem is that there are no experienced leaders left because during the pandemic, a lot of companies got rid of all the high-paid, long-time executives and gave them paid out their retirements. And now it's full of young people with just not enough experience to make these innovation changes, to make the marketing they need to have. And then there was the problem is, and we talked about how Apple under Tim Cook versus Steve Jobs, where Steve was an innovator and a marketer because he knew what the clients, or he kind of had a vision of what they should want, and then came up with a way to tell them in marketing why they want it, not that they want it, but why they want it. And that was his genius. And where Tim Cook, on the other hand, is more reactive. Okay. Feeling what the market wants at real time and reacting to what he knows the people are saying, what they want in a nutshell. And then we talked about just high level, the two dynamic of being the awards for success is not equal to the penalties of mistakes. Do I have it all right?
You got it.
Let me give myself a lightning bolt there. All right. So now everyone's caught up on our inside. So where do we go from here then, James?
So if you think what's happened during COVID, there were shifts that were lost in translation. And what I mean by that is prior to the pandemic, you had people that climbed the corporate ladder. Let's just call them 50-year-olds just for a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, COVID stopped the revenue stream, so companies had to figure out how to cut costs. So where do you cut costs? You cut costs at the people at the top who are making a lot of money. But the problem is that the people that were getting paid a lot of money were often making the company a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they did not mitigate that risk reward. So as an example, I have a client, he's only had one job in his life with a huge company. He was with him 26 years. He comes to work and there's a note that says, today's your last day. The guy calls me panicked. He goes, what should I do? And I said, well, why did they fire you? Were you not making money? He goes, my division has a $10 million surplus. And they still said, we're not going to keep you. And I said, you've got to stay with them because you have pre-existing health conditions.
Yeah.
So they offered him a job at half of what he was making.
Wow.
And he didn't want to take it. And I said, listen to me very carefully. If you're unemployed and you're over 50, it'll be very tough to find a job. If you're employed and you're still vice president of this huge company, you've got a bandwidth and you're desirable.
Wow.
And he stayed on, and he now has a new job with another company. He actually called me last week and said, you know what? I owe it all to you, and we're going to start doing business again.
Wow. That's pretty insightful there. I mean, to think about that, we talk about this with Scott McGregor Group about the red flags when you're interviewing for hiring, and we just talked about this last week, and it's exactly what you said. It's a much better or desirable or promising prospect to hire if they're gainfully employed right now with that great title versus I was with this company forever and now I'm not, and I'm trying to get a job. Well, then there's a lot of questions that you may or may not trust the answers coming from them. But when they're still employed and they're just trying to better themselves for whatever, man, that is a different game, isn't it? That's great.
Well, if you think about it, there's really some very basic premises of what makes a successful person, no matter what their business. Number one, always be honest. If you can't be honest, then keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because if you lie, you forget about what you lied about.
That's true. You don't have to remember as much stuff when you always tell the truth.
Exactly. And sometimes you just, honey, do you like my new hairdo? Wow. Look at the sunset.
Squirrel. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Number two, learn from your failures. Well, we have stopped people from failing. One of the greatest basketball players we've ever known was a guy named Shaq. Shaq was also the worst free throw shooter in the entire country. But guess what? The teams wanted to foul him out because they knew he wasn't going to make any points.
Yeah.
Now, I wrote a letter to the coach and I said, I figured out how to help Shaq. What didn't work? No response. I sent out 5 emails and 2 letters and 1 by FedEx. I said, make me an offer. I would have taken season tickets. I would have taken any, because I just thought it was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What's the answer? When Shaq was moving, he could shoot. When he was at the free throw, he was standing flat-footed.
Yep.
If he was moving inside that free throw circle, I'll bet you he would have shot more baskets.
Wow. And actually, they actually came up, and I don't know basketball. My son, Peter, is the basketball, and Garrett and Trace, they all like basketball. But I know they came up with they coined a term from it called hack-a-shack, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's what, somebody's a bad shooter, you hack him, and then you get him, you just make him beat you on his weakest technical skill.
So that comes to point number 3 for your listeners. Turn problems into opportunities. So typically, if someone is talking to me, they've already decided that they can't come up with the solution on their own. If they could come up with their own solution, they wouldn't talk to me.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So I always ask one question because everybody starts talking about price versus value. It isn't about price versus value. I have a very simple question. What will it cost you to not hire me?
Right. That's a very, very powerful question.
You're losing $10 million a month. I'm only asking for $500,000 a month. That's the deal of the century.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Provided you could deliver, and I think you've got a track record of delivering.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
And I got your website up. I don't know if you can see, but I've got the Shift Happens website, and I like the slide that's behind you that says stop trying to do the impossible for the ungrateful. Tell us what is that? Because I like that saying, but I'm not quite sure. Not other than the obvious, but what's the deeper meaning behind this?
So let me try not to offend your audience, but I'm going to say it anyway.
We got thick skin.
It's mental masturbation.
Nice. Okay. Expound.
I mean, if you've got somebody that isn't going to pay you and they don't value your worth, why are you trying to convince them?
Yeah.
So let me help your audience. I sent you a chat message, and I'm going to say it, and then you can post it. If your audience goes to JFA.tips, TIPS, /objection. I put up online the 16 biggest objections that I have curated in my years and years of working with these companies. Every single thing that's up there, it costs too much. We don't have the bandwidth. We don't have the research. There's the 16 questions that I can answer and save them time and money and help them close sales.
Give us that link again.
JFA, that's James Feldman Associates, .tips, TIPS,
yep.
/objection. Now, one of the things that I do for all of my links is they all start the same way. So every link I have, instead of those long, stupid links, all of them start jfa.tips/something. That makes it easy. So once you get the first half, then I can start giving you all these other links without you having to write down 50 ways to Sunday. So if people want to contact me, then what would you say? jfa.tips/links, LINKS. How simple is that?
I'm putting the objections here. I'm typing some objections, and we all know that I am a very creative speller, so I'm trying to get this right. JFA.tips, /objections for the one we're talking about. Objections is plural. Yes.
Yes, it is.
I'm
correct.
throwing this in the can't message some channels. It says it can't message some channels. So what I will do is I'll have to put this into the comments below this video when we're done with this for tonight, and I'll put that jfa.tips/objections in the comment section or of the description, below the video on all these channels, because it's telling me I think it can only go outbound as far as Twitch, and 99.99999 people in my audience doesn't have Twitch. I guarantee you,
Gotcha.
because I'm old. But we're going to put that in descriptions. That people are asking me to put that into. And if somebody else wants to take it, like Christy, for example, for LinkedIn, if she wants to put that in there, jfa.tips/objections, then everyone can see it in there. And whoever listening on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, be my little helper, please, and put that in the chat for everyone, and I appreciate it.
So let me help your audience with a couple of extra little tips. People will pay more depending on the size of the problem you can solve. Number 2, don't fill out RFPs. Okay? Let's do the math. Hold on. We don't say that here.
What we say here is, hold on, let me get it. We say, let's run the numbers.
Okay. So I run the numbers and I came up with a simple formula. If you divide the RFP by your ROI, you get ZIP.
You divide the RFQ or the RFP by the ROI, you get ZIP.
Correct.
Nice. Now, for some people, they don't know what RFQ is. Request for proposal, request for quote. And why I belong to the business 30 years, utility construction, and it was necessary. I mean, that's how you got bids in. So what's the alternative if you don't believe it?
No, it's not necessary, and that's the flaw. If you are filling out RFPs, you are trying to race to the bottom of your profit margin.
Well,
because RFPs are typically designed to get the lowest price.
I respectfully, 90% of people, you're absolutely right. And that's kind of why I always had a problem with, I'm a ops guy. Okay. So when I did an RFP, it was what I needed to make money. And if I didn't win that bid, then I didn't win it, because if I would have won it the way most people do, racing to the bottom, I couldn't do a good job because I underbid it. And you're right. But, so how do you, if let's say for somebody in small contractor who was trying to work for, the AT&Ts of the world, the Windstreams or whatever, how do you get in the game if you get away from filling out those RFQs?
You change the value proposition. I show up on time. I clean up my mess. I am so sure that we'll get this job done for you in time. I'm willing to put a penalty in it. Nobody else is willing to do that.
You're right about that. Yeah, self-reporting the issues that you're gonna have, not if you have issues, but when you have issues. I have a process in place to self-report and self-repair. Wow, it's good.
So I try to tell all of my clients, focus on the business you have now and get more business from those people before you go out to find new business, because they already trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. Bird in the hand.
It costs 91% more to get a new client than to continue doing business with the existing one.
That's a big one. That's a big number, and it's a true number because I was in that business for a long time, and I know that is true. And then you got to start from scratch, proving your value.
Okay. So I gave a talk to the American Dental Association, and one of their big issues were people were objecting to the cost of a filling. The average filling is about $150 average. I said, that's because you're not explaining it well to your customer, your patient. The filling is $50.
Right.
Did you want it to hurt, or did you not want it to hurt?
Yeah. The 15 years of expertise and this training and the schooling is the extra money that you're getting.
That's right.
That's great.
You got a caller coming in.
Give me one last one. Give me one last one, and then what do we want to leave the audience with? Your next last tip of the night. And we're going to have you back because you are just great, and I owe you an on-screen appearance anyway. So
you basically have to understand it's not what to think, but how to think. And when you're able to go inside the box using that metaphor, you can then understand what the problem is. When you understand what the problem is, you look at the components making up the problem. And the first thing you do is decide simple math. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide.
Yep.
And often just doing that solves the problem.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Are you going to be in Las Vegas next week?
I am waiting. To hear from a client in Mexico who keeps pushing off a meeting. So the answer is maybe.
Well, if you are there, we're going to have this show live in Vegas with me. There's going to be a lot of us there. I'm going to have a lot of guests on. Probably will be later than the normal show on Eastern because we're going to be, out west. But if you are there, I promise to have a spot saved for you. All right.
Thank you.
So it'll be in person and we won't have these bugaboos, but I appreciate, listen, if nothing else, I'm glad I got to screw up with somebody as generous as you are.
Not a problem.
with this process. So thank you for calling in. Thanks for all the work you did beforehand and to have it not work. It's just, I like it. It tells me hey, if this show is perfect, there wouldn't be any way to improve it. Let's go.
That's right. That's right. You can only go up.
Yes. Well, thanks for calling, and we will talk. I'll be talking to you later in the week or next week.
Okay, let me leave you with Tarzan's rule of the jungle. Never let go of vine A until you have a firm grasp on vine B.
I see that in my head. Cowabunga or what? Yeah, all right.
Yeah, right.
Shimasabi, thank you.
You got it, buddy.
All right. James Feldman, Shift Happens.